So today we need to start regarding the use callback, okay, in the React.js. Okay, so before that we need to know that what is the use callback. Okay, and for that we have learned that use memo as well. Okay, and that use memo and use callback, both are using the like for the performance optimization. Okay, so we are using performance optimization. The performance optimization in the sense, so we need to avoid that unnecessary rendering optimization. Okay, the thing is like the basically the use callback is the React hook. Okay, that memoize the function. Okay, is the we have to use that memoize the function. So in use memo we have to memorize the value, but in the use callback we have to memorize the that function. It means it return the cached version of the function unless its dependencies changes. Okay, and like this is we can say that particularly useful when the passing the function to the child component to avoid the unnecessary rendering. Okay, we are using to avoid unnecessary rendering. Sorry, rendering. Okay, so basically that use callback is the React hook that memoize the function. It meaning it basically it return the cached version of the function unless it depends like its dependencies changes. Okay, and basically we can say this is a particularly useful when the passing the function to the child component to avoid the unnecessary rendering. Okay, but the thing is like, so basically where do we use this use callback? Okay, the thing is like the first thing we can say that optimize the performance. Okay, optimize the performance. Okay, to optimize the performance in the sense when you have that expensive function calculations. Otherwise you can see this there is a one function, so we don't need the unnecessary calculation in the sense like suppose if we have that unnecessary rendering, we can say that suppose we need to avoid, then we have to use this use callback. So first thing it's a optimize performance. Okay, next thing there is a the same thing, there is a preventing the unnecessary rendering. So when the passing the callback to the component, okay, but that rely on that react.memo. But here the thing is like suppose we need to prevent that unnecessary re-rendering. For that also we have to use this use callback. And there is one more thing, event handler. Okay, that event handler. So basically when functions are used as the event handler in the child component, okay, then also we can use. Okay, the thing is like, so when should we use this one? Okay, the thing is like the first scenario, okay, when the function is passed as a prop to the child component, that is memoized using the react.memo. Okay, this is one scenario. And there is a one more thing, when the function is dependency on the another hook, like use effect, use memo, or another we can say to use another use callback to maintain the reference. For that thing we can use that use callback. Okay, and there is one more thing, when the function is expensive, like unnecessary calculations. Okay, when the functions is expensive, the and you don't want to be recreate that on every render. Okay, for then we can use that use callback. Okay, then how to use this, like how does use callback works? Okay, the thing is like, so basically this the use callback like takes the two things, takes the two arguments. Okay, the two arguments in the sense, for example, I'll create one reference here. There is a const memoized callback. I'll create one reference callback, okay, is equal to, so I have to use that use callback hook here. Use callback, use callback. So here it will take the two things. One, it's a callback function. This is the callback function, and there is a one more thing, it's a dependency. Dependencies. Okay, so basically that use callback takes the two arguments. One, it's a callback function, and one, it's a dependencies. Okay, so basically that callback function, okay, that function needs to be a memoized. Okay, and the dependence in the sense, an array of the dependencies, when the any dependency changes, the function is recreated. Okay, we'll take one scenario for example purpose. So the thing is, we have one scenario. The scenario is basically we need to avoiding the unnecessary re-render, unnecessary re-renders. Okay, imagine you have the parent components. Okay, you have the parent component, okay, with the button to the increment the counter. Okay, imagine you have the parent component with the button to increment the counter, and there is a child component. Okay, there is a child component that display the message. Okay, so the parent component with the button increment. So the button, how to create the button here? So I'll create the button like this. Okay, so this is the increment button. What happened? Okay, it turned off. So this is a button. Okay, increment counter button. Okay, and this is the child component that display the message. Okay, the child component should the only re-render when it's a prop changes, not every time. The thing is like, suppose the thing is like that, imagine you have the parent component with the button to increment the counter. This button will increment the counter, and the child component that display the message 0 1 2 3. Okay, and the child component should only re-render when its prop changes, not every time the parent re-renders. Okay, this is the scenario. So we'll see first without use callback code, and after that we'll see the use callback. Okay, so I'll create one code, the stat bits. Use callback dot jsx. Okay, so I'll import in this thing and div. So before that I have to create that component import react from react. Okay, so here I will create one component called that use callback, here I have to return that JSX. Okay, I will return the JSX and I'll export that component as well, default, and that use callback. Okay, I have to import in this thing use callback. Okay, now it's visible content. Okay, so now in this thing imagine this use callback is the parent component. Okay, imagine this this use callback component is the parent component. Okay, so what we have did here, so basically that parent component have that button. Okay, and the child component have that message. Okay, so here I'll create one thing. Yeah, the thing is here I will show that count. Okay, and here I will create the button name is the increment. Okay, so in this thing I'll add that event called on click. So here I have to use the state. Okay, so here I'll use the state, there is a const, there is a count, set count. Okay, then I'll use the use state here. Okay, I'll store that 0 by default. Okay, so now I will set that counter. I'll use that set count is equal, like the set count I will make it as count plus 1. Okay, then now so I want to display. Okay, so I want to display the some console.log because I want to see that is that unnecessary rendering or the particular uh, rendering on that particular dependencies. Okay, for that thing I have to create one more component called the child component. Here I will create, there is a child component. Child. Okay, so here I have to pass something, but 1 minute. Okay, so here I'll return the button. So here I'll create one more button. This is the button name is the click me. Okay, and I'll do one thing. So this is a click me. I'll use that on click event here, that on click is equal to that 1 minute. I have to create that on click as well. So the thing is like I will import this component here. There is a child component. Okay, there is a child component. I will pass one attribute called the on click. Okay, so in this thing I'll pass that handle click. Okay, I'm passing the handle click. So the handle click is the function for the consoling. Okay, so here I'll create that function. There is a const handle click. So we want to see, show that console. For that thing I'm using that hand click function. Okay, in this thing I have to console dot log button clicked. Okay, so this is the function we have used here. So right now here we are passing that on click, in the sense we have to import here that an on click as well. Okay, there is a on click here, we have to use. Okay, and same thing I have to pass here. Okay, and here in the child component I have to add one more console, like child rendered. Okay, so I'll use in the new page. I'll connect the project. So our data will not coming. Why? Okay, I have to use the count as well here. The count. What is the error? Why we need these things? I don't need. Okay, now it's fine. So now, okay, I have to inspect the, and I have to okay, child is rendering. Okay, and I click button clicked. So what's the issue in the sense? So basically a parent component re-render when the count is increment. Okay, when I count is increment, that parent, like the basically the when that parent component is re-rendered when that count is increment. Okay, that that handle click is the recreate the new function. So this handle click create the new function. One minute. Something. The thing is like basically okay, okay, the thing is like the issue was, so we have the component called useCallback. So useCallback as of now our parent component. Okay, so the thing is like the parent component re-renders when the count is increment. And so here there is a handle click, is a handle click is created the new function. Okay, causing the child components to re-render the unnecessarily. So we have the child rendered in the child component. Okay, so but we are getting that unnecessary re-rendered from the child component. So we need to avoid using the use callback. Okay, for that thing we have to use the use callback in the hand click function. Okay, in the handle click function. Okay, so here I'll use, there is a use callback function. Okay, so here I'll create that array as well. So now we have created the thing, child rendered handle click. Okay, so now we can see what's happening. It should not work. went wrong with my code. Give me some time. So here what we have done, there is a use callback we have called. Okay, in that use callback, basically that button clicked. Okay, there is a use callback. Okay, so we are getting so when I run this code, the thing is like, what happens, there is a count, okay, and the count, and there is a child rendered. Okay, the parent component render the first time and child component also render the first time, logging with that child render to the console. So on click that increment, button. So when I click on the increment button, so here set count, the count will be increment. Okay, and basically this trigger the re-render the parent component because the count state has changed. Okay, since the parent component re-render, that handle click function is recreated a new function. Okay, and the child component is re-rendered because it received the new on click from the uh, parent component. Okay, the console we are able to see that child render. Okay, so when you click on the this button, okay, that handle click is called. Okay, this handle click is called, so that button clicked only. Okay, so in the console output, what we are getting here, so when I click on this thing, when I click me, okay, initial counter, so basically 1 minute, this is the initial counter and this is the when count is incremented by 1. Okay, so why its child component is re-rendering? That every time parent components re-render, that handle click function is recreated. Okay, since that the child component receive the new function reference as the prop. Okay, this prop. Okay, and the thing is like, the basically what is the exact 1 minute, I have to use something here. There is an on click. Okay. Okay, now we can see. Okay, yeah, now we are not able to see that multiple child rendering, because here we have using that react.memo, okay, in the child component. Okay, and the thing is like, the basically the why is child component is re-rendering, in the sense that every time the parent component is re-rendered. Okay, and that handle click function is recreated, and since the child component receive the new function reference as the prop, okay, from this prop we are passing and it re-renders. Okay, So how to avoid this unnecessary re-rendering in the sense. So basically to avoid this we have to use that react.memo in the child function. Okay, so then we are not able to we are not able to see that exact multiple times rendering in the like in the inspect element. Okay, that you react.memo as well as how to use that use callback. Okay, so what changes actually, what changed here? The thing is like the now the child component only renders the once initially. Okay, so here you can see that I'll recreate it. Okay, yeah, like the child component the renders only once in initially. Okay, when the increment button is clicked, okay, it does not re-render because of handle click reference remains the same. Okay, so this is the basically we can say that use callback. Okay, so what is the benefit basically? So basically the benefit is that handle click yeah, this handle click is only created once and the child component does not re-render unless the handle click changes. Okay, so what is the basically callback? The use callback is the react hook that memoizes the function. So this is a memoize the function. Okay, memoize the function, it meaning that return the cached version of the function unless it's a dependency changes. Okay, and this is particularly useful when the passing the function to the child component to avoid the unnecessary re-renders. Okay, so basically we are using purpose of the optimize the performance, preventing the unnecessary re-rendering. Okay, and the thing is like when the that uh, like when the function is the expensive, so we don't need to don't want to recreate the every renders, so then we can use. Okay, and there is a function there is a use callback function takes the two arguments, one it's a callback function, one it's a dependencies. So here you can see this is a callback function. First thing it's a this is a callback function, the function that needs to be memoized. Okay, in this, so what I selected here, so this is the function that needs to be memoized. Okay, in the dependency, so an array of the dependencies, when any dependency changes the function is recreated. Okay, so we can use like this. Suppose I will show you one more thing. Suppose if we have that for example you can take, there is a API calls in the event handler. Okay, suppose you have a search input field. Okay, that fetches the API from the fetches the data from the API on the button click. Okay, so without use callback the fetch function could be recreated the every render, cause the performance issue if the child component is memoized. Okay, so we can use so basically there is a JavaScript editor online, so I'll show you one thing that okay, so I'll create that one function. There is a fetch data. Okay, so here I will use that use callback for the that fetching the API. Okay, so here I will use that fetch. Okay, here we have to use that URL. You can use any API URL. Okay, so in this thing we have to use the dot then we'll take the response from the response.json response.json. Okay, and we have to use that dot then for to get the data. Okay, here I will console my data as well. Okay, and So basically we are using the callback in the sense we have to add that dependency as well. Okay, the basically this like the function is not recreated unless the dependencies changes. Okay, so basically what I told, like what I told, thing is like suppose if we have the search input field that fetches the data from the API, so we are using the URL, so you can add the API like the fetches the data from the API on the button click. Okay, without use callback, the fetch function, this fetch function could be recreated on every render. Okay, like causing the performance issue if the child component is memoized. Okay, and there is a best practices for the that use callback. So the thing is like the best practices means in the sense we have to use with the react.memo. Okay, what the react.memo does in the sense that basically it helps to avoid the unnecessary re-renders. Okay, for that thing we have to use with react.memo. And so we can use with, there is one more thing, that is use with use effect as well. use effect use effect, or you can use it use memo as well. So like why we are using with use effect in the sense, so basically when the function are dependencies, so then we can use. Okay, and the third thing, there is one more thing that is regarding the avoid the overuse. Okay, we don't like we don't need to use the every times this use callback. Not every function needs to be memoized, used like use it when you see the performance issue. For example, so do we have one code? Okay, so right now I have the simple function. Okay, okay, and like we don't need to add that use callback for simple function as well. Suppose if we have the expensive calculation, so then only I have to use that use callback. Okay, so the thing is like, so these are the things we have to practice, the best practices for the use callback. Okay, the first thing, the use callback is the memorize the function. Okay, and second thing, that useful when the passing the function to the memoized child component. Okay, and third thing, helps to maintain the stable references for the functions. And the fourth thing, should be used that strategically to optimize the performance without the overuse. Okay, we need to avoid the overuse as well. Suppose if you overuse, then it will affect the application as well. Okay, the thing is like the basically this use callback, we are using the memo as the function, but at the use memo, so we are using that memo as the value. So both are using to optimize the performance only. Just here we are using the memo as the function, there we are using the memo as the value. Okay, do you have any doubt on the use callback? Concept. Okay. Okay, so we have one more concept called the fragments. Fragments. Okay, so what are the fragments in the React.js basically? So I already told like the fragment we have to use somewhere. So without fragments, so there is a problem is some the errors. Okay, the thing is like basically in the React.js, okay, the fragments is way to group the list of the children element without adding the extra node to the DOM. For example, I will show you one thing here. Okay, the app.jsx, sometime here we are using the div. Okay, sometime here we are using the div. Okay, the thing is like what fragments will do, the thing is like, so fragment basically it will basically it will create the parent. so it will create the parent without the nodes. But if we use the div, so it will create a node, so we don't need to create the extra node. If you create the extra node, it will it will expensive, we can say. Okay, that is basically that the fragments is the way to group the list of the children elements without adding the extra nodes to the DOM. Suppose if you are using the div, so in the DOM you will see that extra div as well. So we need to avoid that thing. How to use that fragments like this, or we have to use the fragments name as well. Otherwise you have to use that react.fragments. We have to use like this, react.fragments. Okay, otherwise you can use that without name as well. Okay, so usually that when we need to return the multiple elements or the more components, so right now we are using the only one component, but here you can see in the here we are using the multiple things. There is one component, there is the two elements. Okay, suppose when you need to return the multiple elements from the component, we wrap them in the div or any other HTML tag. Okay, but this adds unnecessary elements to the DOM, which can mess up like the layout or styling. Okay, instead of that react fragment, the basically that react fragment let you that return the multiple elements without any additional wrapper in the rendered HTML. The thing is like, so basically we know that the basically fragment is like it's not take the extra node. Okay, the thing is like where we have to use this fragments. Okay, the basically we have to use the fragments when you need to return the multiple elements from the component. Okay, and the second point, so like you have to use the fragment when you want to avoid the unnecessary HTML that elements in the DOM. Okay, and third point, so when you need to cleaner structure, especially in the table or list, so then you can use. Otherwise, so there is one more thing, there is when you want to improve the performance, we need to avoid the unnecessary nesting of the elements, then you can use. So we need to know when we have to use. So the thing is like, so basically when rendering multiple siblings of elements without affecting the styling or structure, well, there we can use. And there is when the building with complex UI with a deeply nested component, so then we can use. Okay, so when we need to reduce the DOM node depth, especially in the large application, we have to reduce the DOM depth, node depth as well. So for that thing we have to use that react fragment. The thing is like, so now how to use this fragments. Okay, so we know what is the fragments, we know what is the like where we have to use and how, like when we have to use. Okay, the thing is like, so basically uh, you can use the fragment in the two ways. Okay, in the two ways. So what are the two ways? The first way, we can use that react dot fragments. Okay, and the second thing, okay, there is a empty. Okay, so this basically this empty, that like this is short syntax, it does not support the key or attribute. Okay, so when you need the key or attribute like a list, so then we have to use this one. Okay, we'll create one scenario, like we'll create one code for the using the fragments in table. Okay, so when you when the rendering the list of the row in the table, so adding the unnecessary div elements can break the table structure. Okay, so here I'll create um, one example table. I will create, there is an example table, the component. So there is a import react from the react. Okay, this is the imported. I have to import create that component as well. There is an example table. Okay, here I had to return okay, don't need to return anything, just we have to return the table directly. We'll see, we have to return the table. Okay, we need to export default and that exam table. So we have created one example table component, and here we have to okay, we have to create a table as well. So basically I'll use the t head. Okay, in the t head I'll create the tr row, and I'll use the head. One it's this one, and one more it's the root. I have to create one more component. In that component I have to pass that fruits data. Okay, fruits fruits fruits. Okay, so this is a fruits. Okay, in the t body, so we have the t head. In the t body we have to pass one component. Here we have to pass the component instead of create the t the t data. Okay, so here I'll create one component here. The component name is the table row. Const table row. Okay, so here I'll create that items. Okay, items. There is a apple. Okay, there is a apple. There is a banana. Okay, and there is a cherry. Okay, there is a cherry. So the thing is, like, I have to map those items. I have to store in the t data, and this component I have to import here. Okay, I will return, and I'll use that fragments. Here I will map those items. That items.map item dot index. Okay, so here I'll use that react dot fragments. React dot fragments. Okay, so in this thing there is a tr and there is a td as well. Td. Okay, in this td I have to pass the slash, in the sense we have to add that number 1 2 3 4. Okay, I'm using that index plus 1, so 1 2 3 will start. Okay, the same thing we have to use the item as well. Here the td, there is a item. Okay, now I'll import this component. That component name is the table row. Okay, the table row component I will import here. Okay, yeah. So now I have to use this example table in the app.jsx. Table example, no? Example table. Okay, react is not defined. Where? Somewhere we have to create that react as well. The line number app.jsx fragments. We don't have the react, in the sense we have to create the react as well here. So here react. Okay, 1 minute. I have to add that border as well here. In the table I have to use that border 1. We have to add key as well, so we are getting some error there. In the react fragments there is a key, we have to add that index here. Okay, so now we don't have that error here. Still, if I got the error, yeah, we don't have the error. Okay, so why fragments is here? Why that fragments here? Our question. Okay, suppose in this thing actually. Okay, why the fragments is here? The thing is like, if we use that div instead of the react.fragments, so you can see that if we use that div instead of the react.fragments, okay, the tr elements, like these tr elements, would not be directly children of the t body, causing some table structure to break. Okay, for that thing we have to use this like that react dot fragments. Okay, and there is a best practices we have to use that react dot fragments. The first one, we have to use that fragment to avoid the extra nodes. Okay, avoid the extra nodes in the DOM. Okay, and second point, we need to prepare this syntax first. Syntax for the cleaner code unless the key or attribute are needed. Okay, the thing is like, so why use that fragments, in the sense we need to avoid the unnecessary DOM elements, and we need to keep the DOM structure clean, and that we need to improve the performance by reducing the DOM depth, and that we need to do one thing, like essential for the rendering the multiple elements without the parent wrapper. Okay, so these are the things regarding that fragments. So do you have any doubt regarding the fragments? Okay, we'll go for the one more concept called, there is a higher order component. So basically, so this concept, again, this higher order component, we can say the like short term, we can say it's a HOC. Okay, that the higher order component is the advanced pattern in React, we can say. Basically that React that allows you to reuse the component logic. So basically an HOC is the function that takes a component as an input and return the new component. The same thing as a JavaScript. Higher order function is take the function like uh, is take the function as the input, return the new function with enhancing the enhanced. Otherwise, we can say it's a modified behavior. So here, basically, what we'll do. So HOC is the function. HOC is the function that takes a component as an input and returns a new component with the enhanced. Okay, enhanced in the sense we can say it's a modified behavior. Okay, so basically that function that takes that a function as an input and return the new component with the with the enhanced, we can say. Okay, so basically we have the syntax curve for the higher order. So we have to create one reference for the enhanced component. Enhanced, there is a component. Okay, so we have one component called higher order component. So this is a HOC is the component. Okay, we need to and there is a one more there is a one component, a wrapped component, we can say wrapped component. Okay, so basically and this is the syntax for that higher order component. Okay, that higher order, basically it takes the component as an input, okay, and return the new component. So return the new component with enhanced. Okay, so basically way to use this HOC, way to use the HOC. Okay, so basically this HOC are particularly useful when you need to reuse the logic. Okay, when you reuse a logic. Okay, so reuse logic in the sense share the logic across the multiple component without duplicate the code. Okay, and the second thing that is enhance the component as well. So enhance the component in the sense, suppose the thing is like enhance the components. To enhance the components in the sense we need to add the extra prop and that state management or lifecycle behavior to existing the components. Okay, and there is one more thing, there is a conditional rendering. There is a conditional rendering. Okay, the conditional rendering in the sense, so we need to control when and how the component is displayed or using that HOC. Okay, and there is one more thing, there is a handling the side effect. Handling the side effect. So handling the side effect in the sense, basically for example you can take the fetching the data or authentication checks. Okay, so there you can use this HOC as well. Okay, so we know that where to use this HOC, but we need to know when to use this HOC as well. Okay, so basically we need to use HOC when you find the when you find yourself the basically they're repeating the same code across the multiple component. Okay, and basically needing to abstract the complex logic away from the UI component. Okay, and one more thing, there is implementing the cross cutting concern data fetching. So then we can use that that HOC. Okay, so now we need to know how to use this HOC as well. Okay, so So basically, the thing is like we have to create one HOC function. Okay, it takes a component as an arguments. Okay, the first step here we have to create. Here we have to create the HOC function. HOC function. Okay, create the HOC function in the sense. So basically, it takes a component as an argument. Okay, and second step we have to enhance the component as well. We have to enhance the component. Okay, enhance the components in the sense we need to add the logic, state or props. Means we have to enhance the component using that add logic and state and props. Okay, third thing we need to return the new component. Return the new component. Okay, like this component will have that extended behavior. In this new component we can say this component will have the extended behavior. Okay, we'll create one example for this HOC. The scenario is the scenario is I'll create one scenario here. The scenario is adding the loader to the any component. Like the basically loader in the sense we can see, 1 minute I'll show you one thing. Component component. Okay, the loader I will show you one thing. Loader in React.js. Yeah, this like these are the loader component, we can say like this only. Here what we have to do, so this is the one scenario to adding the loader to any component. Okay, using that HOC. So imagine you have the multiple components that fetch data from the API. Okay, imagine you have the multiple component that fetch data from the API. Okay, so you want to show the loading, like the loading while the data is being fetched. Okay, instead of adding the loading, the logic is every time. You can create the reusable HOC as well. Okay, the thing is like the basically there is a scenario adding the loader to the any component. Okay, imagine you have the multiple component that fetch data from the API, and you want to show that show the loading like loading spinner. Spinner in the sense I will show you one thing here. So you can see this loading spinner. Okay, yeah, the loading spinner while the data is being fetched. Okay, instead of adding the loading logic in the every component, we can use, otherwise we can create a reusable HOC. Like first thing I'll create one thing here. There is a okay, so I'll create the one component called HOC. Here, so with loader dot js. So this is the HOC component that with sorry okay, with loader is the HOC component. We have to import this component. Import, there is a react from that react. Okay, so this is the HOC component. We have to create the HOC function as well. Okay, so yeah, thing is like, so this is a component. We have to create this component here with loader. Okay, with the loader. Here we have to return a new function. Okay, the function is with loader component, with loader component. Okay, in this thing we have to return one more function called with the loader component. So in this thing, so we have to do one thing. Okay, so here also we have to return something. Okay, I will return 1 minute. Okay, I'll return something called hh. Okay, and here I'll do one thing. There is export with the default, and there is a with loader. Okay, there is a with loader. Okay, this is the one component, the HOC function. There is a with loader function. Okay, so we have to create that. So here I will do one thing. So we want to show the loader. For that thing we have to create that state as well. Okay, there is a const. Okay, here I will use that is loading. Okay, and set is loading. Set is loading. Okay, so here I have to use that use state as a true. Okay, and I have to show that users as well. For that thing I need a state. Okay, there is a users, and that set users. I have to use state. Initially I'll set as the empty array. Okay, so now I have to use that use effect. Okay, here I have to set using the set timeout. Using the set timeout, I will set the user like ID and name. Okay, the ID is equal to set to the 1, and that name I will set as the start. Okay, and same thing I have to set that loading as well. Set is loading. I will make it as a false. So here we are using the true, in the sense here we have to give the false, and here I will show the time is the 2 seconds. Okay, so now we have used here that where it is, somewhere we have used, I think. Yeah, the thing is like we have to pass so that users and is loading to the our this with loader component. Okay, for that thing I'll do one thing here. Okay, I'll create one component. Okay, I'll create one component here. Okay, here there is one const. Okay, enhanced user list with loader. This is a one component, and we have to pass in this thing there is a user list. Okay, user list is a one more component. We have to create that user list as well here. Okay, there is a one const user list okay, there is a ul. Okay, so here I have to iterate that users, then we have to pass these users in the in this thing actually. Okay, I have to use this users dot map, and I'll use user here, and I will render in the li. Okay, in this thing I'll use that user dot name. Okay, this is our component. Okay, this component is done, and this component with loader also we have imported, and this is also we have done, and this thing. So yeah, so this component we have to call here. So in the return, so we have to call this function. Okay, so from this function we have to pass that is loading is loading is equal to that is loading. Okay, and the same thing we have to pass that users as well is equal to that users. Okay, so now we'll go to the that with loader component. Okay, so here we have wrapped that with loader here. Okay, you can see we have wrapped that with loader of the user list. So then here we have to use that wrapped component. Okay, the wrapped component. So we have passing there it's is loading, in the sense we have to use the use loading here. That is use loading, as well as we have to use that props. Okay, so in the return we have to add one condition. If is loading is there, then we have to return that loading. There is a loading. Okay, otherwise we have to return this function. Along with the props. Okay, so what we have created, there is a one with loader function. So we are using that with loader function here. We are wrapping so we are wrapping that so this is a HOC function, and this is like we are wrapping that user list. So I will reload this one. I will show what is coming in this thing. something is error. And with loader we are getting some error actually. Wrapped component. Why? There is a props. Okay. What is the error? We'll go here. We'll check. Failed to pass the source analysis because of the content invalid JS syntax. If you are using the JSX, make sure that name file is a JSX or TSX. Okay. But still I'm getting the error. I will read on this command. No, I am not getting the error. No, yeah. I have to add the key props as well. Where I have to add the key? Somewhere we have to add the key as well. Okay, in this thing, key is equal to that user dot id. Okay. What's happening here? Network reload all 1 minute. Wait, let's call back. So it's coming like this. Okay, basically this with loader will receive the user list as a wrapped component. So user list as a wrapped component. When the loading that is like that that is loading with true, then display the loading. Okay, so when not loading, it render the user list. Okay, now it's working right only. Yeah, it's correct only basically. So we are showing that only loader. Okay, what was our statement? Adding the loader for the any component. Okay, yeah. So basically the thing is like, so now in app.jsx, so we have created one component called with loader. Okay, the with loader basically it receives the user list. Okay, user list we are getting from the like this component. Okay, so basically this like user list with like we are just like user list as taking as a wrapped component here. Okay, the thing is like basically this with loader is the HOC, higher order component. So we have to use that higher order component like this. Little bit tricky, but yeah, the thing is like we need to understand each and everything. So here you can see we have created the component called with loader. We are taking that that function from the user list, but we are taking the name as a wrapped component. Okay, so in this logic we are showing that loading. Okay, and that in the app.js we are iterating that map as well, and here we have set that timing for that loading. Okay, so basically how this works in the sense, So we are using this like this function, enhanced function, okay, and we have written that function in the app.jsx, okay. Here you can see where it is. Yeah, the same thing only we have did, okay. There is a const enhanced function, there is hoc in the sense there is a component called with loader, and in that thing we are passing something in the sense it's a wrapped component, okay. So what I did, there is a created the hoc component, okay. So we have created the hoc component, and what is the second step, enhance the component. So this is our enhance the component, and what is the third step, we need to return the new component, so it return the new component as well, okay. The hoc is the with loader, it receives the user list as a wrapped component, and that second point, when the loading, it display the loading, okay. When is not loading, that it renders that user list is fetched data like that, okay. So here we have some best practices for that that HOC, okay. So basically that HOC we need to avoid the overuse, like use callback. So basically we need to avoid the overuse in the sense we don't create too many nested HOC as it might lead to debugging difficulty. Debugging difficulty in the sense, suppose if we have created so many that HOC, suppose if we got any suppose if we find any error, okay, to finding that error, so it will difficulty for us actually. That thing don't need to create the like too many nested HOCs, okay. And use the naming convention, like always name your HOC clearly. Suppose like I'm using the scenario, like adding the loader to the any component, in the sense you have to use that naming convention called with loader, like that, okay. And there is one more thing, pass to the props, okay. Make sure all necessary props are passed to the wrapped component, okay. And basically so this HOC component and that HO like higher order function, you'll get some confusion on the during the interview, okay. Like you should practice on the particular what is the higher order component and what is the higher order function, okay. The basically higher order component, the function that takes the component as an input, return the new component as an enhanced, okay. The basically like so these are the things we can say regarding that HOC in the React.js. So otherwise there is a one more real world scenario, like authentication HOC, like authentication HOC in the sense, like suppose the user want to register, so then authentication is very important, okay. So there is one scenario that our authentication HOC like can be used to the to wrap the components or redirect to the unauthorized users to the login page. So we have to create that one HOC component as well for that thing. So it takes some time, so we'll do later, okay. And there is one more thing, okay, when not to use that HOC, okay. For the thing is like, so when that using the React hooks, you like you can achieve that same behavior with the custom hooks, the custom hooks in the sense. So like we have seen that lot like so many hooks called use effect, use state, use context, use memo, use callback, okay. So there is a one more thing, there is a custom hooks, okay. Custom hooks in the sense we have to create the own hook for the particular logic, Okay, so basically when like we don't need to use the HOC when we are using the React hooks. We can achieve that same behavior with custom hooks. For example, so here we have created the one loader functionality. Okay, so we can use the like we can create the custom hooks like a use loader like that. So as we can see here, there is a use state. The same thing we can use the use reducer like we use like use loader. In that use loader we can store the loading functionality as well. Okay, there is one more thing. If the component logic is too specific, it's not reusable. Okay, these are the regarding the HOC. Basically, what is the HOC? HOC is the function that enhances the component, where we have to use that we have to use it when you need to share the logic across the components. When we have to use in the sense, basically it's ideal for the cross-cutting concern like loading, authentication, and the analytics. Okay, how to use in the sense, you have to create the function that takes in a component and return the enhanced function or enhance the components. So this is regarding, we can say it's HOCs. So do you have any doubt on the HOCs? Okay then, so if you don't don't have any doubt in this, we can wrap the session. Okay, then thank you.